I always knew Blueface was pretty stupid. I'm gonna tell you why. Blueface is signed to Wack100 and managed by Wack100. Let me tell you how this works. When you sign to a label, they take at least half already. Then you're getting managed by the guy who owns the label. So of your 50% that you're getting, or less than 50%, he's still taking at least 20% of that too. It's double dipping. You get what I'm saying?
Wack100 was supposed to be Blueface's manager and business partner, but instead, he allegedly ended up draining millions from him over the years. This isn't just messy business, it's one of the wildest power plays the rap game has seen, happening right in plain sight. Let's break down how one of hip-hop's most controversial managers allegedly pulled off one of the industry's boldest money moves without anyone stopping it. Wack100 is a well-known music manager and longtime industry figure out of Los Angeles. He built his name by standing next to artists who stay in the headlines and by being loud, blunt, and impossible to ignore. Born Cash Jones, Wack100 earned his reputation in the streets before flipping that into music industry influence. He's worked with major names like The Game and Ray J, but his connection to Blueface may be his most profitable and most questionable business situation yet. On the other side, Blueface was just a young guy from Los Angeles who tripped into rap fame almost by accident. Born Jonathan Porter, he was deep in street life when his song Oceana unexpectedly went viral. At that point, he had no clue how record deals, contracts, or management even worked. He was simply a street-smart rapper with an offbeat style who caught lightning in a bottle. That situation made Blueface the perfect setup for someone like Wack100. You had a newly viral artist with no manager, no lawyer, and no understanding of the business side at all. Money was coming in fast, but there was no protection, no structure, and no guidance. According to Blueface himself, that's exactly when Wack100 stepped in and took control, moving fast and locking things down before anyone else could. Wack100's daughter was the one who first heard Oceana and put her pops onto the song. That's when Wack100 jumped straight into Blueface's DMs, trying to lock in a face-to-face meeting fast. But Blueface wasn't feeling it at first at all. When you Google Wack100, all you see is controversy, chaos, and non-stop drama. Blueface later admitted he was already on guard because Wack's reputation was loud before Wack even spoke. Blueface said himself, when you look Wack up, people instantly start warning you. He basically said, when you Google him, people tell you about him. And none of it sounded calm or normal. On top of that, Wack100 used to go by Crip Killer Wack back in the day, and Blueface is a Crip, so that energy alone made things super tense. That history made the whole situation feel shaky from jump. But Wack100 didn't back off at all. He kept calling, texting, and pressing Blueface to come over to his house for a meeting. Blueface straight ignored the calls at first, letting them ring out over and over. Eventually, one of his homies told him to at least hear Wack out and see what he was talking about. At this point, Blueface was doing everything on his own. He was booking shows, shooting videos, and handling his business without any real team behind him. Major labels like Atlantic and Empire were already circling, but Blueface felt like they didn't understand his street background at all. When someone at Atlantic asked him if he was Crip or Cry, that's when it really clicked that these corporate people weren't tapped in. One day, Blueface was posted at the park in the hood, just cooling and enjoying himself, when Wack100 started blowing his phone up again. Blueface still didn't want to go, but Wack wasn't playing this time and sent a car to come pick him up anyway. When Blueface pulled up to Wack100's mansion, he was instantly blown away. The place screamed money, power, and success. Blueface later said, when you see somebody who got it, it's like, okay, that I like that, and that reaction was exactly what Wack100 was aiming for. This was a straight-up flex meant to plant a seed in Blueface's mind that Wack could take him to that same level. Now here's where things start getting real shady. Wack100 already had a contract written up and ready before Blueface even walked through the door. Think about that for a second. No real sit-down, no breakdown of terms, no proper business talk, just paperwork waiting. That's not guidance, that's pressure, and it set the tone for everything that followed. The most manipulative moment came right after that. Blueface looked at Wack100's wife and asked her straight up, would you insist on your son signing this right here? He even followed it with, like, if I was your son, would you recommend this? And she responded with a simple but powerful, yes. That one word changed everything.
His wife at the time, like, excuse me, man, like, would you insist on your son signing this right here? Like, like, if I was your son, would you recommend this? She was like, yeah, I would. I signed at that time. That was like my confirmation.
No lawyer, no nothing.
No lawyer, no nothing.
Okay.
Off that answer alone, Blueface signed the contract on the spot. No lawyer involved, no time to read the fine print, no real understanding of what he was agreeing to. He trusted that a mother wouldn't steer him wrong, and that trust sealed the deal. But here's where Wack100's finesse really shows. That paperwork wasn't just a management agreement, it was a record deal and a management deal rolled into one. That setup meant Wack100 got paid twice from the same money streams. On top of that, the contract reportedly gave Wack100 50% of Blueface's music earnings right off the top before Blueface even touched his own money. And it doesn't stop there. On top of that record deal cut, Wack100 also takes another 20% as Blueface's manager. Do the math for real. That's around 70% of Blueface's money going straight into Wack100's pocket. DJ Academics broke this whole setup down on his stream and called it exactly what it looked like. Double dipping. No sugarcoating, just raw numbers.
Knew Blueface was pretty stupid. I'm gonna tell you why. Blueface is signed to Wack100 and managed by Wack100. Let me tell you how this works. When you sign to a label, they take at least half already. Then you're getting managed by the guy who owns the label. So of your 50% that you're getting, or less than 50%, he's still taking at least 20% of that too. It's double dipping. You get what I'm saying?
In a normal setup, you get either a record deal or a management deal, not both with the same person. That's a clear conflict of interest. Your manager is supposed to fight for the best deal possible for you. But how does that work when he's also the one signing your checks? It doesn't. For context, most management deals sit around 15 to 20%, and most record deals split revenue close to 50-50 after expenses are covered. But Wack100 structured this deal so he wins from every angle. He gets label money and manager money at the same time, while Blueface takes the hit on both sides. It's a setup where one person eats good no matter what, and the artist feels the pressure nonstop. And this wasn't some quick contract either. This type of paperwork usually locks artists in for multiple albums and several years. That means Wack100 has reportedly been collecting around 70% of Blueface's earnings for years. And unless something changes, that flow of money keeps going the same way. That's the part that really hurts. Fast forward to today, and the results are hard to ignore. Blueface recently got out of jail and came home with little to show for his past success. Let that sink in. An artist with multiple platinum records and massive hits is now dealing with serious money problems. Even the crab restaurant he was promoting hasn't been doing well, showing just how deep the damage from this deal really goes. When you're only keeping about 30% of your own earnings, it's almost impossible to build real businesses or long-term investments. Most of the money Blueface made was allegedly flowing straight into Wack100's pockets instead of being stacked for the future. Reports have even suggested that Blueface may be forced to sell his house. That alone shows how damaging deals like this can be to an artist's financial life. This situation paints a clear picture of how predatory contracts can slowly drain an artist dry. While Wack100 is living in mansions and showing off wealth online, the artist who actually created the music is reportedly struggling financially. What makes it even crazier is that Blueface is still tied to this agreement. Even if he wanted out, these types of contracts are built to be extremely hard to escape without paying huge penalties or fighting costly legal battles. It's important to remember that Blueface was young and inexperienced when he signed this deal. He was around 21 years old, fresh out of the streets, with little to no business knowledge. That lack of experience made him vulnerable, and Wack100 was able to lock in a deal that clearly favored him far more than it benefited the artist. The balance was never equal. And this story goes way beyond just Blueface. This is part of a bigger pattern in the music industry where older, more experienced businessmen take advantage of young, naive artists. They use flashy lifestyles, pressure tactics, and fast-moving deals to push signatures without proper advice or protection. Looking back now, there were warning signs all over the place. But in the moment, Blueface didn't have the tools to see them clearly. Having a contract ready before any real negotiations even happened, mixing a record deal with a management deal, and not giving time for a legal review are all classic warning signs. These are textbook predatory tactics in the music business, plain and simple. But the most manipulative move of all was bringing Wack100's wife into the moment to co-sign the contract. That's high-level psychological pressure, making it feel like family advice when it was really a business setup meant to benefit one side. This situation proves why industry knowledge really matters. Artists have to understand the business side of music just as much as the creative side. If Blueface had known basic contract language or had a lawyer look things over, this whole situation could have played out very differently. From Wack100's point of view, he likely feels justified because he did help Blueface navigate the industry, get visibility, and land bigger opportunities. But let's keep it real. Taking around 70% of someone's earnings is extreme by any standard, especially when that artist is the one creating the music, building the fan base, and taking the public risks. The power balance here is completely off. Wack100 controls Blueface's career direction, his money flow, and major business decisions. That's not a partnership, that's control. When one person has that much control, they can basically move money however they want. That's where things get dangerous for the artist. And the worst part is the lack of an easy exit. These contracts are built to be ironclad, locking artists in tight. For Blueface, the frustration has to be heavy. Getting out usually means paying back advances, covering legal fees, and sometimes owing more money than you even have. So while Blueface is dealing with financial stress, selling assets, and handling legal issues, Wack100 continues to collect his reported 70% cut from nearly everything Blueface does. That's millions of dollars over the years that should have stayed in the artist's own pocket. The biggest takeaway here is simple and serious. Never ever sign a contract without a lawyer looking at it first. It doesn't matter how much you trust someone or how sweet the deal sounds, independent legal advice is non-negotiable every single time. A lot of industry veterans love to present themselves as mentors or even father figures to young artists, but too often, that image is just a mask for chasing the next big payday. Real mentorship doesn't involve taking 70% of someone's earnings, period. Wack100's mansion, lifestyle, and constant flexing created an illusion that made Blueface believe signing with him was the fast track to success. What Blueface didn't see at the time was how that wealth was really built. Wack100's money didn't just appear out of thin air. It came from taking massive percentages from multiple artists over the years. That's a system that benefits one side while draining the other, and the damage goes way deeper than just money. When artists can't keep their earnings, they can't invest in their neighborhoods, properly support their families, or build anything that lasts. It kills the chance for generational wealth and keeps artists stuck depending on the same system that's taking advantage of them. If Blueface had proper legal representation, the problems with this contract would have been spotted immediately. A solid entertainment lawyer would have pushed for separate deals or at least cut those percentages down hard. That's why education matters so much. If more new artists understood contract terms and industry standards, Blueface would have known right away that 70% was outrageous, and that double dipping like this crosses a serious line. If Blueface had taken time to talk with other artists who already dealt with management contracts, they likely would have warned him about the red flags all over this situation. Even taking a few days to think, research industry standards, and ask questions could have saved him millions. That pause never happened, and that rush changed everything. The urgency wasn't real, it was manufactured. Wack100 created pressure to keep Blueface from making a fully informed decision. That's key. At the same time, Blueface already had interest from major labels like Atlantic and Empire. Those deals might not have been perfect either, but odds are they would have been way more balanced than giving 70% to one individual. Now, Blueface is living with the consequences of a contract he signed years ago. He came home from jail broke, struggling to keep businesses afloat, and reportedly having to sell off assets. All while Wack100 continues to profit from the work Blueface put in. That irony hits hard. Blueface's success helped build Wack100's wealth, but the contract stopped Blueface from building his own long-term stability. It's like working a job where the boss gets rich and you stay stuck, except quitting isn't really an option. Blueface's choices are limited right now. He could try to renegotiate, but Wack100 has zero reason to give up that 70% cut. He could try to break the contract, but that would likely cost more money than he even has. The last option is to keep grinding under the same terms and hope volume makes up for the loss, surviving off just 30%. And that's not even touching the mental side of it. Beyond money, this situation probably hits Blueface's motivation and creativity hard. When you know most of your work benefits someone else, it's tough to stay hungry, focused, and locked in at your highest level. Other artists in the industry are watching this whole situation closely, and they're definitely taking notes. This story has turned into a real cautionary tale about why proper representation and understanding contract terms matters before you sign anything. What happened between Wack100 and Blueface doesn't even look like a normal manager-artist relationship anymore. It feels more like an owner and employee setup. Real managers are supposed to work for the artist and help them maximize earnings, not design deals that mainly line their own pockets. They're meant to protect the artist, not trap them. What happened here looks like an extreme version of a 360 deal, where someone takes a piece of everything the artist does. And even most 360 deals don't go anywhere near taking 70% of someone's earnings. That percentage is wild by any industry standard. If this type of contract starts becoming normal, it could set a dangerous tone for how young artists get treated moving forward. Other managers might start pushing the same kind of terms, knowing that hungry or desperate artists might say yes without fully understanding the consequences. That's how bad business spreads fast. Situations like this don't just hurt financially either. They usually destroy personal relationships too. Blueface likely trusted Wack100 and looked at him as a mentor figure, someone he thought was guiding him in the right direction. Now he's realizing that trust may have been misplaced from the very beginning. And when an artist can't build wealth from their own success, it doesn't just affect them, it hits their entire family. Blueface has kids and loved ones who should be benefiting from the success he worked for. Instead, a massive chunk of that money is reportedly flowing to Wack100, leaving the people closest to Blueface feeling the impact of this deal too. The stress from money problems, legal trouble, and feeling trapped in a bad contract can seriously mess with someone's mental health. Success is supposed to bring peace and stability, not non-stop pressure and anxiety. When you're only keeping 30% of your own earnings, it's hard to feel secure or motivated. It becomes way harder to stay inspired, locked in, and hungry to keep creating new music. Let's be real for a second. Why give maximum effort when someone else is taking most of the reward? That kind of setup drains creativity fast. This is why the music industry needs stronger protections for young artists. There should be real limits on how much managers and labels can take, especially when artists are inexperienced. Mandatory legal reviews should be standard, not optional. There should also be waiting periods. No one should be allowed to sign a high percentage or high dollar contract on the spot. A required cool-down period with legal review could stop impulsive decisions that end up wrecking someone's financial future. Education matters too. The industry should invest in real programs that teach artists contract terms, industry standards, and basic business skills before money ever hits the table. Peer support is another missing piece. More experienced artists should step up and mentor newcomers, warning them about common scams and predatory tactics. That kind of guidance could save careers. Transparency should also be non-negotiable. Contracts should clearly spell out the total percentage being taken and show how it compares to normal industry standards so artists know exactly what they're signing. At the end of the day, Blueface is the real victim in this situation. He was a young dude who caught a lucky break with a viral song, but instead of that moment setting him up for life, it became the foundation for someone else to get rich off his work. That's the part that really hurts. And this goes deeper than one bad deal. This is a systemic problem in the music industry where experienced business figures prey on young, unprepared artists. Until that changes, stories like this will keep repeating. The biggest takeaway is simple but powerful. Knowledge is power, and without it, talent alone isn't enough. If Blueface had understood basic contract terms and real industry standards, this whole mess could have been avoided. Every young artist has to learn the business side of music, no excuses. Trust is cool, but trust has limits. Trust people if you want, but always verify what they're telling you through independent sources and real professionals. Just because someone looks successful or moves with confidence doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart. Flashy lifestyles can be misleading. When it comes to business decisions, you always gotta think long-term. A deal that feels amazing in the moment can quietly cost you millions over the years. That short-term win can turn into a long-term loss real fast. Hopefully, stories like this push the industry toward real change. Maybe future artists will be better protected, and maybe predatory managers will start getting way more scrutiny for how they operate. That pressure matters. Without it, nothing changes. Sadly, Blueface's legacy might always be tied to this contract situation just as much as his music. But if his experience helps even one young artist avoid falling into the same trap, then some good comes out of a bad situation. Sometimes the lesson is bigger than the person. So here's the final warning to any young artist watching this. Learn from Blueface's mistake. Get educated, understand your contracts, and never let anyone rush or pressure you into signing something you don't fully understand. Your financial future depends on the decisions you make today, not tomorrow. The music industry can be beautiful when it's fair, but it can also be ruthless and predatory when it's not. Stay sharp, stay protected, and always remember, if a deal sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If this breakdown helped you see the game clearer, make sure you like, subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment with your thoughts. Let's keep these conversations going.